What makes the Arctic and Antarctic deserts? Imagine a place so cold and dry that almost nothing can survive there. That's what makes the Arctic and Antarctic regions special, even though they are covered in ice and snow. These areas are called polar deserts because they share the main features of deserts, but in a freezing climate. The key thing that makes them deserts is how little moisture they get each year. Even though they are icy, they receive less than 250 millimeters of precipitation annually. That is much less than most deserts, which are hot and dry like the Sahara. Antarctica, the biggest of these polar deserts, gets less than 50 millimeters of water equivalent per year inside its ice-covered landmass. This makes it even drier than some of the driest deserts on Earth. The Arctic, which is made up of parts of countries like Canada, Russia, Greenland, and Alaska, also gets very little snow and rain. The temperatures in these deserts stay extremely cold all year round. During summer, the Arctic stays below 10 degrees Celsius, while Antarctica can be much colder. Antarctica's high elevation, with an average of about 2,200 meters above sea level, makes it colder than the Arctic, which is mostly at sea level. The coldest temperature ever recorded was near -89.6 degrees Celsius in Antarctica. The Arctic is a bit warmer because it is surrounded by ocean water that helps moderate the climate. The Arctic landscape is mostly tundra, with frozen so-called permafrost, and some plants like mosses and lichens. It also has animals such as polar bears, Arctic foxes, seals, and many birds. The Arctic climate is affected by the ocean, which makes temperature changes less extreme and causes more clouds and fog. Antarctica is mostly covered in ice, but it has some ice-free areas like the McMurdo Dry Valleys, which are cold and dry with no snow. Life there is mostly microbes, algae, and lichens, especially in the interior. The coast has some birds and seals, but humans do not live permanently there. Both regions experience long periods of continuous daylight in summer and darkness in winter, which affects their weather and ecosystems. Despite the harsh conditions, some plants and animals have adapted to survive in these extreme places. For example, mosses, lichens, and algae can live in the cold and dry environment. Animals like seals and polar bears relying on the ocean for food, while microbes and tiny plants survive in the soil and ice. These polar deserts are also important for science. They help scientists understand how life can exist in extreme conditions, which is useful for studying other planets like Mars. So, even though they are covered in ice and are very cold, the Arctic and Antarctic regions are deserts because they are extremely dry and have very low precipitation. Their differences in temperature, landscape, and life make each one unique, but both are fascinating examples of Earth's cold deserts.